right? So Tuesday they got up there with Woody and they kind of finished Woody up. The defense finished him last week on their initial cross. Hilton comes back in. I think Hilton started out like with a good angle with the whole, you said you couldn't read. Let's prove that you actually can read, and then go through. But then from there, it got extremely weak. I don't know what she was doing after that, because I didn't, from there, it just fell off, and I didn't think she was making any good points after that. So I'm not even going to dig too deep into what she was saying. She pretty much was going back through every single thing, and like, you said this, but this other thing happened in 2015. You said this, and he's like, you keep going back to 2015. You told me that you want me to tell the truth, right? She was like, yes, I want you to tell the truth. And he's like, then why do you keep going back to when I was lying? It don't make sense. You want me to match up today with what I said back then. It's not going to work. I was saying a bunch of different stuff back then. It's not going to make sense now. So I'm not going to repeat it because I was lying. But she was stuck on it, and it just was like, the thing about the little D, like what the little D tell you, and she was just not letting it go. She couldn't figure out another strategy to get this, to make this thing make sense. I mean, Woody finished up on Tuesday, so we could breeze past it. That was the most epic fail of a witness in the history of criminal trials. I don't care what, you could bring up anybody. That was the most epic fail on the prosecution side of their own witness that I've ever seen. I'm gonna speak for me. That I've ever seen. I've never seen nothing like this. We probably won't ever see anything like that again, honestly. So I don't even feel like I really even need to get into the super details of that. Now, Wednesday, we get another star witness. Now, when I call people star witnesses, mostly because they were defendants in the case and they took a plea deal. So now the state is hinging some major covert act, or I say covert, some major overt act on something that this defendant is supposed to confirm and say, yes, that happened, right? Moontoon, Antonio Sledge. And remember, there was argument about Sledge a couple weeks ago because attorney Max Shard got up and said, hey, I have a good faith basis to believe that there was something that Antonio Sledge said in the meeting with the prosecution that might be Brady. The judge said, well, what did you hear? Shard said, I don't really know, but I'm just saying they never gave us any notes on their meeting. So it might be some Brady, but we don't have any way to find out. So then the judge asked Attorney Love, was there anything said in the meeting? She was like, no, I didn't even take no notes because he didn't really say anything. Now we are here to Antonio Sledge, where we can figure out now. And listen, Sledge, Moontoon, if you ever do come across this video, I'm having a very hard time not saying anything out of pocket to you and about you. And I'm going to tell you why. It's not because I got any real issue with you. It's because you being as old as you are in comparison to every single other person in this case, you being as old as you are in comparison to every single other person that they mentioned that you was hanging around for the last 10 to 15 years, it makes sense why they are getting on the stand acting the way they acting. It makes sense why they have been in their neighborhoods acting the way that they've been acting. This is who their OGs was. And I'm not even calling them, this is who the older people that was in their neighborhood, I'm not going to say giving them game. I can't see what he could have given them except criminality, honestly. And I understand how the streets go and how we as younger people look up to the older people in the streets. You might not have been trying to guide them anyway. You was just around and they just started trying to copy what they saw you doing. The issue is I still got a problem with it. You was way older than them and you was hanging with them. That's weird to me. One of them, one of the little D's, it was even, you knew his mom when she was pregnant with him. There should never have been a time where you and him should have hung together. You knew his mom when she was pregnant with him. You was a teenager. It's not like, to me, like I said, if this come across your desk or whatever like that, you owe the community. You owe your community some work. You owe them. You need to get out there, start a program. You need to get out here and do some type of youth violence prevention program. You need to do some type of drug prevention program, some type of substance abuse prevention program. You owe the streets. You're 43 years old. Nobody else in this case is above 35. You owe the streets. You owe Southeast Atlanta. You owe them a program or something. Again, I'm saying what I'm saying, trying not to be disrespectful, but the way that I feel about what I've been hearing in this situation and how much. Let's get into this thing, man. So first they come in there arguing on Wednesday morning. They come in there arguing about the admissibility of Antonio Sledge's plea deal, right? The defense is like, yo, why is he? Because his plea deal, by far, the worst plea deal in this entire case. I mean, I don't know how he signed that plea deal. I don't even know how a prosecutor was even comfortable giving somebody a plea deal like this. This is by far the worst plea deal in the case, the worst I ever seen, right? Let's talk about his plea deal real quick before we even get into it, because his testimony is like, you know, I'm not trying to disrespect nobody, so I'm not going to say nothing crazy. But let's even just look at the plea deal, how disgusting it is. Like, Attorney Love was in her like extreme predator bag when she wrote these deals. Oh my God. She was in an extreme bag when she wrote these deals. Let's look at this here. Hold on. Oh no, that's the whole thing. Wait, what? Okay. Can y'all see that? Can y'all see the deal that's on the table right here? And I got to read this because I don't even care about the factual acknowledgements. Those are crazy also, but we got to look at this first page right here. Right? Let's look at the current charges. Oh, hold up. The current charges are count 1, of course, they all have this one. Conspiracy to violate the Racketeering, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act. And count 30. Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon previously convicted of a felony involving use or possession of a firearm. Okay. Count 30 is the one that's really what we're going to discuss right here. Negotiated sentence. Now go to part 2. Again, all those factual acknowledgements are out of pocket. This is the part right here. Negotiated sentence, count 1. 15 years to serve on probation. That's already crazy. That's out of pocket. You're going to get out today. Even though they said you was a danger to society, you're out here shooting people, but we're going to let you out today. And you know what I'm saying? You're free to be on probation for 15 years as a 40-something-year-old man. And then here's where it gets egregious. Count 30's negotiated sentence is sentencing withheld until the completion of the initial trial of this case. After the initial trial of this case, provided defendant has complied with the special conditions outlined in section B, C, D, F, I of section 3, special conditions of sentence of this plea agreement, the state agrees that the defendant shall be allowed to withdraw his guilty plea on count 30, and the state shall agree to no pros count 30. Here's the nasty part is the part that says sentencing withheld until the completion of the initial trial in this case. He has to do B, C, D, F, and I of section 3. Let's go look at what those sections say. Because do I even have a copy of that? I don't even know. Let me see, y'all. Give me a second. Let me make sure I even got a copy of that. Oh, damn, I don't. Hold up. I was trying to find a full copy, but pretty much what it says is that you have to testify, right? You got to testify truthfully, and you got to testify and say everything that matches up with what is in your factual acknowledgements. But because I can't, hold on, let me see. Oh, actually, yes, I do have it right here. There we go. Okay, give me a second. Let me switch this pup out. All right, y'all check it out, right? So it says that he has to testify in accordance with B, C, D, F. That's Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Foxtrot, and I, India, for all the people that was in the military. B, C, D, F, and I. Let's read B, C, D, F, and I. Right? B, defendant shall testify truthfully about all matters relating to this case upon which he is questioned at any trial or judicial proceeding stemming from the facts alleged in the indictment. C, in accordance with testifying truthfully about all matters related to this case, defendant acknowledges that each and all of the statements contained within the defendant's factual acknowledgements section of this agreement are true. That's a problem. D, defendant shall testify truthfully about each statement contained within defendant's factual acknowledgements and any matters related to the case when asked to do so in any proceeding related to the facts alleged in this case. Now, any proceeding, in the case in this indictment, right? Foxtrot, defendant shall commit no criminal acts. And I, India, defendant relinquishes any Fifth Amendment right elected to any statement contained within defendant's factual agreements contained within this plea agreement. Essentially meaning, from this point forward, anything we ask you in the at any one of these trials that has information that's in the factual acknowledgements, you can't plead the Fifth. You got to answer the question. Yes, we know it's going to incriminate you, but you got to answer the questions. Now, we can actually get into some of these factual acknowledgements because they are also very funny that you would sign this, my brother. Just even some of the, I think that, first of all, let me give my overall opinion on what's about to happen to him. They are about to fry him. On that count 30, that deferred sentencing, I don't know why he would ever sign a deferred sentence plea when you're facing that much time. They about to fry him for that. They about to fry him for this. The first factual acknowledgement says YSL Young Slime Life, aka YSL, is an organization made up of 3 or more members or associates who share common identifiers that include but are not limited to colors, hand signs, and terminology, who have committed crimes intended to increase the notoriety, street credibility, and reputation of YSL. He went up there and said that wasn't true. The problem with the type of plea deal that you have, my G, it's not just about impeachment or perjury or anything like that. You have a sentence that is being deferred until later. Everybody else in this trial got sentenced in the situation. They pretty much got probation, time served, and they got let out, right? So they need a probation violation to get them back in there, or they need a perjury charge or something like that. They can say, they don't even have to they don't have to recharge you with anything new. They can say, because you did what you did and you said that YSL is actually not a gang and you don't know anybody who committed any crimes in furtherance or to boost the notoriety, and you don't even know what the word notoriety is, and you was pressured and all this, because you said that alone, when they come back to sentence you for count 30 that you pled guilty to, they can, and they said in this agreement, they are going to recommend that the judge give you the max sentence allowed, which is 15 years. And actually, and I don't think I have the paper, the part of the plea agreement, it actually says that if you violate this plea agreement, they can give you 35 years in prison, and they are going to recommend it to the judge. They're not going for any fair sentencing with you, Mr. Muntung. They want to give you the max, and they have written it in your plea agreement, and you agree to take the max if you violate the plea. Very unfortunate that you would sign this, but okay. Defendant has been a member and or associate of YSL since 2012. He wrote that number in there. Number 3, while associated with YSL and to support and express loyalty to YSL, defendant and co-defendants Demikian Garlington and Quindarius Zachary, those are both little D's, one from Mechanicsville, one from Cleveland Ave, appeared in the video in quotes in parentheses, with another person's AS, wherein defendant brandished a weapon used in a drive-by shooting, and wherein on behalf of YSL, defendant threatened to harm a person named Kale, a rival gang member who had begun a relationship with defendant's paramour. Okay, his ex-lady. Well, listen, Miss Love is so funny to me because why didn't she stay in engineering? Y'all know Miss Love got a degree in engineering. Like, she should have stayed in engineering. You don't take that type of intelligence. She's a very intelligent person. You don't take that type of intelligence and go into the state side of criminal justice. Why would you do that? Because that becomes evil genius. You understand what I'm saying? And not evil genius in like a good way. Oh, that was clever. Evil genius in the way of predator, taking advantage of people, malicious intent. You understand what I'm saying? I don't like, I love her vocabulary. I'm not gonna lie. She uses a lot of good $10 words. I love her vocabulary, very extensive vocabulary. I myself would like to have vocabulary on that level one day. I think I do have a pretty good vocabulary, but hers is better. I like it. She uses large words unnecessarily at times, but I love it. Shout out to her, but she's an evil genius. What's the point of some of these factual acknowledgements? I don't understand it. Number 4, on or about April 28th, 2015, as reflected in Fulton County. Let's go back to number 3. Number 3 says, let me go to the middle of it. It says, wherein defendant brandished a weapon used in a drive-by shooting wherein on behalf of YSL, defendant threatened to harm a person named Kel, a rival gang member who has begun a relationship with defendant's ex-paramour. Now, the sick part about it is Attorney Love put in this paragraph the reason that there was an issue with Kel. It was over the girl. But then they also said that the drive-by was on behalf of YSL. Is that YSL's girlfriend? Or why are we beefing over a girl, but you're putting it on YSL? They put 2 different reasons for the shooting in the paragraph. Like that. So if I'm just, YSL member X, you're trying to put on us that he went and shot at his ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. What that guy don't have nothing to do with none of the rest of us. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't understand like that at all. Another thing is we found out through, going through the trial and testimony and stuff like that, he pled guilty. Like they already dealt with this back in 2017. He pled guilty to that shooting in 2017 with an Alford plea. Now, with pretty much what the Alford plea is saying, like, I'm going to plead guilty because it was in my best interest, but I don't actually agree with what y'all are saying here. I'm just pleading guilty. And I'm not saying that this stuff that y'all saying is truthful or factual. And that's the reason why an Alford plea can't be used like as evidence against somebody else. It doesn't mean that you can't be used to testify against somebody else about the exact same information, but it means that the plea itself can't be used as evidence against somebody else. So when we talked about the Alford plea a long time and we went into it deep, but I'm just saying that you can't use the Alford plea as evidence against anybody else, right? The problem is he took the Alford plea in 2017, but then he comes on this case and admits that everything he said in the Alford plea was actually facts. He did pick this guy up after he got beat up at the club. He did pick this other guy up after the club. He did go drive to this neighborhood, shoot up this house, and then drive to another neighborhood, and they shot up another house, and some lady got shot in the butt and all this type of stuff. He admitted to that on the stand after saying through Alford plea that it wasn't factual back in 2017. So he that was a mistake. All right, he shouldn't have done that, but he did, and whatever. All right, so he pretty much made it so they never have to use that Alford plea again because he put everything on the record, and now it's in evidence in this massive trial that stuff really did happen, and he was an accomplice and he was part of it. He picked them up and they had motive because there was a fight at the club, and so he gave reason for all of it, right? And remember, I did the video a couple weeks ago talking about how Fonnie Willis put together one of the trickiest RICO indictments that we ever gonna find that we'll ever see. They only need one person to admit to a crime that happened within 5 years of the indictment. They need one person to admit to a crime for them to convict anybody else that is considered a part of the same organization, right? Of count one, I'm saying, count one. So if they have, let's say, everybody in the courtroom, and this is indicted co-conspirators and unindicted co-conspirators, right? And that's why they wanted Kenneth Copeland to get up there and just admit to anything, because they just need anything. So you got one co-conspirator here, Antonio Sledge, saying, yes, I did this shoot, or yes, I was a part of this shooting that these other guys committed. I didn't do the shooting, but Lil D and the other Lil D, they was mad. They did the shooting. You're telling that a co-conspirator did something that hurts all the people on trial, because if the state establishes that these people are YSL, all 6 of the people that's currently on trial don't have to get found guilty of anything except that they're part of YSL. Then you get Lil D did a shooting, and now everybody in YSL can get convicted of count 1 because Lil D did a shooting with 3 members that are considered themselves YSL. That's all they need. They don't need to convict Young Thug or nothing else. They don't need Shannon Stillwell of nothing else. They don't need nothing else to convict every single one of them of count 1. That's what they are not understanding. And Attorney Love explained that. I don't even think the defense was looking at it like that. They didn't think that. Even Kenneth Copeland is considered a co-conspirator. If they figure out that he committed some type of overt act, they can use that to convict the rest of these guys of count 1. Now, is the jury going to understand it like that? I don't know. But that's the way that Attorney Love explained it. And that's what they're going by. And the judge said, wow, she was a little bit shocked by that too. But that's what they did. So let's go to number 4, again, on or about April 28th, 2015, as reflected in Fulton County indictment. This defendant and fellow YSL associates, Demetrius Garlington, has committed a drive-by shooting using a firearm defendant wielded in the video referenced in part 3 of this section, targeting family members of a rival gang. So 4 and 3 go together, and that goes to what I was just talking about with the any one of the co-conspirators needs to commit a crime, and they all can go down for count 1. Number 5, defendant and his fellow YSL associates committed the drive-by shooting referenced in section 3 and 4 above on behalf of YSL and to increase the notoriety, reputation, and fear of YSL. On the stand, Antonio Sledge said that's not true. He don't even know what notoriety mean, and he don't even know how that would have boosted the notoriety of YSL. That's not what I'm saying. That's what he was saying. His lawyer should tell him, Mr. Wright, Attorney Wright, you should tell him they are going to smoke him when they sentence him for count 30. I mean, he's toast. Okay. He got 8 kids out there. I feel bad for the kids because your pops is toast. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be negative, but he went up there playing the wrong game with a plea deal like this. So let's actually, and I'm done with this disgusting plea deal. Miss Love, you are an evil genius. It's not cool what you're doing in these plea deals. It is sick. There's also a factual acknowledgement talking about you can never say before trial, during trial, or any time after trial that anybody charged with the murder of Donovan Thomas is actually innocent. You can't say it at all. That was also in DK's plea agreement. Like, why is that in a plea agreement? What if it's the truth? Why are you putting in a plea agreement that I can't say the truth if it's the truth? All right. So they get with Sledge and they're talking to him about his relationship with both Lil D's, Woody, Qua, or both Quays, whatever, Thug, Dora, Max, all of them. He was like, I got a good relationship with all of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm close with everybody. I treat them all the same, whatever. He been knowing Thug since 2009, just establishing all this type of stuff. He said YSL is not a gang, which is, you're violating your plea agreement when you say stuff like that. The Love started to get into his plea agreement like fairly early, like with the impeachment stuff. So he was, he was answering questions as if his plea agreement did not say what it said in there. Now, initially, this happened early on his testimony on Wednesday. Attorney Love asked Sledge, hey, who are the 3 or more members of YSL that committed a crime in furtherance of the gang to boost the reputation and all that? Because that's one of his factual acknowledgements that he knows somebody that did that. He says nobody. She was like, pretty much, are you sure that's your answer? Like, you want to go with that? He was like, can I talk to my lawyer? So he goes out, talk to his lawyer, because he had said nobody at first. He like, I don't know. He said nobody at first. And then he goes out, talk to his lawyer. Attorney Love asked him that question again immediately. He says Zachary, Demikian Garlington, and myself. He immediately goes to, I'm giving it up, right? So again, this is the trickery of the way that this RICO is set up. He's thinking that, and this is what I'm assuming that he's thinking, he's thinking that if I admit to a crime that we have already been found guilty of, it can't hurt anybody else in this case. I think a lot of people are thinking about it like that, but they are mistaken. It's going to hurt everybody in the case. And then you admitted to something that you took an Alfred plea on and saying that you really didn't agree with the plea. So, yes, he went, talked to his lawyer, came back immediately and said, yeah, it was me, Garlington, and Zachary. It was us. We did this thing. And from there, I feel like Love really had everything she needed. She just needed one of them to agree that 3 or more of them committed a crime together. And boom, I don't really need you for nothing else. But I think Love was messing around with him, pretty much dragging it out, asking him a bunch of questions that didn't really mean anything. I mean, not to me anyway. She's asking, he's like, yo, I forgot my gun at home because I was moving too fast. She's asking him, why were you moving too fast? He's answering questions. She's asking him, why are you answering like that? So she was just dragging this thing out. It was taking forever. And she said it was going to be a 3-hour direct examination. They did two and a half full days. And then, it felt like it was dragging for sure because they was asking the goofiest questions. She was, she kept asking the same questions over and over again. Sledge ended up saying hey, I tried to put some, I tried to make corrections in there and I was telling my lawyer that some of this stuff is not true and they need to change it. And my lawyer came back and told me that you said we can't change it and that just sign it and then we could explain what we signed later on at trial. I'm going to tell you 1000%, that sounds like something that a district attorney or a prosecutor would say. Sign it now. We'll let you explain it later. That is 1000% a trick. That is a trick. Do not do that. But he fell for it at his age of 41 years old when he signed it. You know what I mean? He signed it and believed that he could explain it later and that he could also just say it's not true later. All right, brother. So he said and I went back and watched that plea agreement hearing that they had. Miss Love is crazy, right? Miss Love is reading out the plea agreement in front of the judge and in front of him, asking, does he understand everything? And what she does is read and find a typo in there. The word's supposed to be being, and it said begin, right? So Love is reading it. She finds the typo, and she's the one who typed the typo. She's reading it. Instead of her making the correction, she turns to Antonio Sledge and tells him, you make the correction on the paperwork. You cross it out, write your name and initial next to this thing. I'm going to pull that up actually because why she play with that man life like that? Right? Hold on. Where is it at? Which one of these pups? Is it? I'm trying to see real tiny right now. Oh, there you go. Boom. Okay. Can y'all see this? Let me put it over my face real quick. Do y'all see what happened here? Now, it's on video. I screen recorded it. I did it on my other computer. I don't even have a copy of it. But you can go back and watch Antonio Sledge's joint, right? His plea hearing. Attorney Love found this typo. The person that finds the typo, either the person that finds the typo or the person that made the typo is the one that's supposed to do the change or the correction on it. She turned to him and told him, you correct this and you sign next to it. So then what she did was she came back to that gentleman and told him, are you saying that you weren't able to make any corrections on this form? And then she brings up that piece saying, you made a correction right here. And that's the grimiest thing that you could do because you're playing with people that are not as sharp and witty as you. But the new judge has no idea what happened. If it was, I don't know what Glanville would have did. He would have let it ride. But had Whitaker been a part of that plea deal, she would have said, I think I remember he is not the one that made that correction. You made the correction and told him to do that. That was very dirty of you, Miss Adrienne Love. That was not cool. Why'd you do that? That man said he tried to give corrections and you would not change it. His lawyer told him that you told the lawyer that he can explain it when he gets on the stand. he said he didn't agree with about 3-4 of them things. And y'all played with him, man. You know, I have a theory about why they gave him the deal that they gave him, which is, like I said, it's egregious. I think that Love is looking at him the way I was talking about, saying like, you being an older man hanging around all of these way younger dudes and you was guiding them, like helping them get better into the streets and deeper in the streets and all that. I think that they're punishing him worse for that. Being looked at as like, you the older guy, you were supposed to lead them the right way and you led them astray and you enabled and helped them out in their journey to criminality. So they gave him the deal like that to pretty much put him in a trick bag to guarantee that he's for sure going to prison. It's like a guarantee. If you, let me pull that image back up. This is the one that I was talking about earlier. Defendant fully understands that defendant's violation of any provision or any special condition of this plea agreement prior to the conclusion of the initial trial of this case shall nullify any promise made by the district attorney to null pros count 30 of this indictment and may result in the defendant being sentenced to serve as much as 35 years of confinement in the Department of Corrections. Think about this. Count 30 carries 15 years. Count 1, the max is 15 years. If you add them together, you get 30 years. Somehow, in Section 5 on here, District Attorney Love, the evil genius that she is, said, you know what? If you violate, we're going to give you 35 years for this whole thing. And then parts of the plea agreement also say, and everything you get sentenced to must be run consecutively. None of that. We ain't doing nothing at the same time. When we sentence you, it's going to be after. So whatever probation, whatever sentence that you get in this count 30 situation, sentencing, it's going to be run consecutive. It's coming after the count 1 sentence. So I do think that they gave him that sentence because they were saying like, we do not like this guy, that he was doing this with these younger dudes. He could have led them a totally different route and he chose to do it that way. Cold-blooded, man. That plea deal, I'm baffled that anybody would sign something like that. So he pretty much said, yeah, I signed it because I was trying to get out of jail to go see my sick mom. I signed it because I couldn't afford to take my attorney all the way through trial and pay him and stuff like that. I signed it because I just couldn't sit in jail anymore. Like, I need to get home to my family. I didn't agree with it. I knew it was wrong, but I still signed it. He said that to Love. He said it to the defense. He just maintained that, yep, like I shouldn't have signed it, but I did.